What's up, Road Warrior fam? Most people have no idea what a chase car actually does. But if you're behind the oversized load, you could literally make or break the entire trip. Here's everything you need to know before you get behind the wheel as a chase car. So before we get into the actual ups and downs of the job, what is a chase car? A chase car is essentially the car that's directly behind the load, getting the load over lane to lane, making sure that they're clearing turns, making sure that everything's good behind them, because you are basically watching the six of the load. In military terms, that just means, if you look at a clock, the six, that means what I can't see behind me, the other person has to be looking out for. So essentially, you are the eyes behind the oversized load. They can see what's going on in front of them for the most part. They cannot see what's going on behind them. That's what a chase car is. So you are probably, arguably, the most important person besides the actual trucker driving the truckload. So one of my first experiences as a chase car, I got to chase something that was about 14, 15 feet wide. So now on any regular highway in America, the United States, of course, most lanes are about 12-foot width. With that being said, we had about 1.5 feet on each side of the lane that we were overhanging. That's what made us an oversized load. So it was a very unique experience. That was my first ever run. We had no hiccups, but of course it is kind of nerve-wracking, right? Because you're going past certain things on the shoulder, or a cop has somebody pulled over on the, the right shoulder, and you got to make sure that you could cut somebody off to get the load over there because it's against the law. And the last thing you want to do is ever hit a civilian, come close to hitting anything for that matter. So it's just a lot of nuances, and everything's very fast paced. Just make sure y'all know that it's a very fast paced job, and there's no time to be texting and driving. You shouldn't do that regardless, but you definitely shouldn't be doing it as a chase car. Some of the responsibilities of a chase car are as follows. You need to be communicating with your lead car, which I'll have a whole separate video on what a lead car is. You need to be in constant communication with your lead car as well as your truck driver. They'll call out things that you can't see because you're stuck behind this very wide load. You're looking at a bumper all day. I like to say you need to be through heavy traffic. If you're in, Los Angeles, Baton Rouge, Dallas, Fort Worth, any of those areas, anywhere between 5 and 8 feet so that no cars can sneak up in between you. If you're on the, lower New Mexico 9 where there's nothing out there, just desert and tumbleweed, I fall back between, 12 to 15 feet behind the load. Everybody's different, but it is your job to make sure that nobody gets in between you and the load, because you are an extension of the load. If he's going through a yellow light, you go through that yellow light. It's just part of the job. I'm not saying run any red lights, but sometimes things happen where if you don't, you would let so many cars in between y'all, and that's horrible as the chase car. It's in your job to be one with the load. From a safety aspect, it is a little nerve-wracking at first, and it is scary. You're putting your life on the line because sometimes you will have to cut cars off, and there'll be close calls, but it's either that or something traumatic could happen. So you have to put yourself in a position where you always know how to maneuver. For me, especially, I'm always looking. I'm looking outside my mirrors. I'm seeing what's going on behind me. I'm looking for ways out if something dramatic were to happen. Nothing dramatic has ever happened, and I've been doing this for a couple years now. With that being said, there are some safety concerns with this job, but for the most part, as long as you're being proactive, paying attention to detail, very hyper aware, you should be good. Now, some of the mistakes that rookies make while being a chase car, what I've seen with my own eyes is people doing the bare minimum. I don't like to do the bare minimum unless the truck driver says, hey, shut up back there, you're doing too much. That's a whole different conversation that you can have, and I'd rather you have that conversation. Dang, we hit 6 things, we almost took out X, Y, and Z, and I never want you to work with me again, because that is the last thing that I want. I want you to be very proactive, very communicative, and just make sure that you're communicating. That's probably the biggest thing. Of course, when you are on that radio and at first it's very nerve-wracking, like your voice doesn't sound good, you're scared to talk, because it's not just the driver. Anybody who has a CB radio and is tuned into that station, I guess technically they could potentially hear you. So of course, little things like that are nerve-wracking. And then I would just say, not knowing your job. If you're listening to music rather than paying attention to the road, somebody comes on the radio and says, hey, I just tapped the bridge in lane 2, or hey, we have a left lane shoulder closure. It's your job, even if your truck driver says nothing, to get over to the lane to avoid whatever obstacle is coming. And the lead car, which again, you could go watch that video, they're out far enough to where you have reaction time. You don't have to cut anybody off like split second. Sometimes you will. I think in my couple years of doing this, I've had to cut 2 people off like within 2 seconds, just because it was either that or a life was at risk. But besides that, you have time to communicate if you are paying attention and if you are being proactive. Okay, Okay, so I'm gonna give y'all a little bit of sauce, a little bit of secret that I like to do. What makes a chase car stand out to these truck drivers? And again, I'm giving y'all the raw truth because guess what? I believe in my work ethic. I believe that I am a great chase car. So I'm not scared to give y'all some of my secrets because none of y'all will ever be me and I'll never be any of y'all. If y'all can work your way up and surpass me and make way more money than me, absolutely. I want you to do that because at the end of the day, I'm not gatekeeping anything and I just want everybody to be able to eat and provide for their family or whatever it is. So some things that I do that make me stand out, I would say, because I've heard it through the grapevine, is I'm very proactive when it comes to passing semis. If we're going, let's say 62 miles per hour and there's a semi going 60 miles per hour, the truck driver is eventually gonna come up to him slowly and he's gonna want to get over to lane 1. So I'm gonna clear him to lane 1 and most people will let him pass. Okay, you pass the 18, you're clear to get back over, and they go about their business. A little bit of sauce that I do is I'll get him over to 1. Now that he's in 1, now I'll split lanes. I'll split lane 1 and 2. So that basically means the dashed line, if it's a two-way, 2-lane highway, the dashed line is in the center of my truck so that I could see the line. Now I'm calling on the radio, okay, you have about a 2-foot gap between you and the semi. Like I'm giving him that peace of mind because he's looking out of his mirror trying to pass this guy, but he's also trying to pay attention to what's in front of him. Because let's say there's a tree or something that he could hit on the left side, so now he has to bring it back. If he knows that he has 2 feet to play with on that side, it gives him peace of mind. That and then just being overly communicative. At the end of the day, I'd rather somebody tell me to shut the heck up because I'm talking too much rather than, hey, you didn't talk enough, I'm never working with you again. Because I can live with, hey, I don't want to work with you because you talk too much. Okay, you're just a rude truck driver who obviously doesn't care about safety, rather than losing potential contracts or clients because I'm not talking enough, if that makes sense. So that's basically what a chase car does. If you have any more questions, make sure you comment down below anything about chase cars and I'll make sure that I reply back to your comments. I try to reply to all my comments. Sometimes when I'm on the road, it's difficult to get to comments quickly. So, I always pick one day at the end of the week to just reply to a mass amount of comments. And I appreciate all the love, support, and questions that y'all have. Some of the negativity, I get it. And I want to hear any feedback. Any feedback's better than no feedback. I'd rather you tell me, hey, you're not doing this right, you're not doing that right, or I love this, I want to do this, because it helps me understand what y'all need as a community, as Road Warrior family. So in the next couple videos that are going to be dropping, I'm definitely going to go over what a lead does, the difference between what a chase car does, a lead car does, and how much money you can make, whichever one, because they do pay 2 different things. And then I'm also going to be coming out with my ebook soon. I think I'm going to finalize that sometime this month. This month is October, so by November 1st that should be ready to go. I'm going to start a email list, or a newsletter list rather. So basically you sign up and give me your email. I'll make sure that every time I drop a video, you get an email notification saying, hey, Wavy Escorts just dropped a video. And then any valuable pieces of content that I have, whether one-pagers, PDF, equipment's going on sale, whatever it is, I'll make sure that I get that to y'all via email, just so that we have that community aspect and that you are getting the most value that I could give you. So with that being said, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. I will see y'all in the next video.